Yeah, MedDecode. Welcome to MedDecode. Today we're doing a deep dive into something you see everywhere. I mean, it's totally common, but our sources suggest it might be hiding a cardiovascular time bomb. We're talking about the energy drink.
It sounds like just another wellness topic, but the sources we got are actually centered on one single, incredibly dramatic medical case. And it perfectly illustrates how a daily habit, something that seems so harmless, can lead directly to, well, to a stroke.
Okay, let's unpack that. Our mission today is to help you understand what clinicians themselves almost missed. So picture this. You're a fit, middle-aged person, you suddenly have a stroke, and when you get to the hospital, your blood pressure is it's out of control.
We're not talking about just a little high. The reading on admission was 254 over 150.
Whoa.
Yeah. I mean, that is a hypertensive crisis. It's an immediate emergency. But here's the real puzzle. Standard tests found nothing. And doctors tried 5 different prescription medications, one after another, and his blood pressure just would not budge.
5 different drugs failed.
Oh, wow.
That sounds terrifying. What could possibly be so powerful that it just cancels out modern medicine like that?
Well, the answer was hidden in plain sight. It was deep inside his daily routine, a habit he didn't even think was a problem. And that's where we have to start.
Right. So here's where it gets really interesting. Our patient was a man in his early 50s, described as fit, healthy. He was a non-smoker, didn't drink heavily, no history of drug misuse, and then bam, he shows up with classic stroke symptoms. Left-sided weakness, numbness. He was really unsteady.
The physical symptoms themselves were actually quite mild. He was diagnosed with a mild ischemic thalamic stroke, only a 4 on the NIH stroke scale. The huge red flag, the thing that overshadowed everything, was that initial 254 over 150 reading. You just don't see pressure like that without some clear underlying cause, usually a tumor or something kidney-related.
So the hospital starts the standard treatment, right? Antiplatelet therapy, statins, but they're basically fighting an invisible enemy. His pressure dipped a little in the hospital, but the moment he was discharged, it shot right back up. We're talking consistent readings between a 190 and 230 systolic.
Exactly. This is what we call refractory hypertension. And you can feel the clinical desperation. They threw the entire playbook at him. Amlodipine, that's a calcium channel blocker. Then losartan, an ARB.
Okay.
Indapamide, a diuretic. Bisoprolol, a beta blocker. And finally, doxazosin, which is an alpha blocker. 5 different ways to attack the problem, and his BP just stayed stubbornly high.
It's like his body was running at maximum throttle no matter what they did. So that's when the medical team had to dig deeper, right?
Yeah.
Beyond the usual questions.
And that's when they found it. The truth was his absolutely gargantuan intake of energy drinks. He was consuming, on average, 8 cans a day.
8 cans. I can't even picture that. What does that actually translate to, chemically speaking?
It translates directly to danger. Each can he was drinking had 160 milligrams of caffeine. So if you do the math, he was taking it about 1.2 to 1.3 grams. That's 1,200 to 1,300 milligrams of caffeine every single day.
Wow. Okay, just for context, the suggested maximum daily intake for a healthy adult, according to guidelines like NCE, that's set at 400 milligrams. He was routinely taking in more than 3 times the recommended maximum.
Yeah, to put that in perspective for you, that 1.2 grams is like drinking about 13 average cups of brewed coffee every single day.
Yeah.
He wasn't just alert, his entire cardiovascular system was being chemically tortured.
So what happened when they figured this out and told him to quit cold turkey? I'm guessing the result was pretty dramatic.
It was the ultimate proof. Within just 1 week of stopping the energy drinks, his average blood pressure dropped dramatically. It fell right into the healthy range, with systolic readings stabilizing between 120 and 130.
Unbelievable, just from stopping the drinks.
Here's the kicker. Within 3 weeks, he was successfully weaned off all 5 of those high-powered medications.
All 5.
All 5. That recovery timeline is overwhelming evidence. The drinks weren't just a contributing factor. They were the primary driver of his hypertension and his stroke.
That is just. It's the ultimate proof that a lifestyle change can be more powerful than a whole pharmacy of drugs. Okay, so that story leads us right to the science. We have to understand what is in this energy drink cocktail that can just stop 5 medications dead in their tracks.
We have to start with the foundation, which is, of course, caffeine. Its mechanism in the body is, well, it's incredibly subtle, but so powerful. It functions as an adenosine receptor antagonist.
Adenosine. Okay, break that down for us. Why is that receptor so important?
Put simply, adenosine is the body's natural relax signal. When adenosine binds to its receptors in your blood vessels, it tells them to vasodilate, to widen and relax, and that, naturally helps lower your blood pressure.
Ah, so caffeine is the intruder. It barges in and stops the body from calming itself down.
Precisely. Caffeine's molecular structure is so similar to adenosine that it can essentially hijack the receptor site. It gets in there and blocks adenosine from doing its job. So without that crucial relaxing signal, the blood vessels stay constricted, heart rate goes up, blood pressure rises. It's like jamming the off switch for your whole vascular system.
It's a molecular imposter, keeping the body locked in the state of high alert. But the dose here is key, right? That's what separates a morning coffee from this level of risk.
Absolutely. Dosage is everything. A cup of tea might have 30 milligrams of caffeine. A cup of coffee, maybe 90. Your average energy drink is about 80 milligrams per can. But in this case, his drinks were 160 milligrams each. And some of the drinks on the market have up to 500 milligrams in just one serving.
And what about the hidden stuff? The sources made a point to mention guarana as a big source of, well, secret caffeine.
Guarana is a powerhouse. It naturally contains about double the concentration of caffeine that you'd find in a coffee bean. A lot of companies add it for natural energy, but it's really just an unlisted potent caffeine booster that makes the whole stimulating effect even worse.
The Trojan horse of stimulants. Okay, so this extreme vasoconstriction, this crazy high blood pressure, it points doctors toward a specific diagnosis, doesn't it? The reversible one.
Yes. The most likely diagnosis here was reversible cerebral vasoconstriction syndrome, or RCVS. It's a syndrome where you get this multifocal, reversible narrowing of the arteries in the brain. It can cause what they call thunderclap headaches, but it can also cause the exact kind of neurological problems our patient had.
Reversible sounds good, but cerebral vasoconstriction sounds terrifying. What does that actually look like?
Well, on an angiogram, the classic sign is what they call a sausage on a string pattern.
Sausage on a string.
Yeah, you see these alternating segments where the artery is severely squeezed shut, and then right after it's dilated and wide. This irregular spasming is what can trigger a stroke. And RCVS is strongly triggered by vasoactive substances, which makes the high dose of caffeine and taurine in these drinks a prime suspect.
So caffeine is the entry ticket. But to actually push someone all the way to a stroke, it has to be the whole cocktail working together. Let's move beyond just caffeine.
That is the critical point. It's the entire formula. And when we look at the ingredients, the next thing we have to talk about is the astronomical sugar content.
The numbers are just shocking. The sources we looked at found that energy drinks have, on average, 38.5 grams of sugar per 100 milliliter. I mean, you blow past your entire daily recommended sugar intake in less than one small bottle.
And that huge glucose load creates acute hyperglycemia. This massive surge of sugar generates an incredible amount of oxidative stress inside the body. You can basically picture oxidative stress as rust forming inside the plumbing of your arteries.
Rust in the plumbing. I like that analogy. It's a really clear picture.
And that rust, it damages the vascular endothelial cells, the smooth inner lining of the blood vessels. That damage promotes vasoconstriction, it causes inflammation, and it makes the artery walls stiffer. The whole system is just pushed to its breaking point.
And the sources also mention that other things like glucuronolactone, which is a metabolite of glucose, also contribute to that exact same oxidative damage. So it's like a two-pronged attack on your blood vessels.
Absolutely. And while some ingredients like B vitamins or L-carnitine are, in theory, supposed to be helpful, they are just completely overwhelmed by the massive doses of caffeine, taurine, and sugar.
Okay, let's focus on the mechanism that directly causes most strokes. That's the clotting risk, right? Enhanced platelet aggregation.
This might be the most insidious part. The hyperglycemia we just talked about, the high sugar, it actually makes your blood stickier. It enhances platelet activity, making you much more prone to forming clots.
So your body is actively building the blockages that cause strokes.
But it gets worse.
Yep.
Research shows that the combination of caffeine, taurine, and glucuronolactone, even in sugar-free versions, significantly increases clotting. One study showed a 13.7% rise in ADP-induced platelet aggregation after someone drank an energy drink.
Wait a second. 13.7% is huge. And that pathway, ADP aggregation, isn't that the exact mechanism that anti-stroke drugs like Plavix are designed to block?
That's it, exactly. The energy drink is actively boosting the very clotting mechanism that antiplatelet drugs are supposed to stop. It's a recipe for disaster.
It's literally working against the medicine.
And on top of all that, we can't ignore the electrical threat. Arrhythmias. Atrial fibrillation, or AFib, is responsible for 20 to 25% of ischemic strokes.
Yeah, the sources had some really alarming cases about young people. I saw documented cases of perfectly healthy teenagers, some as young as 13 to 16, showing up with sudden acute AFib right after drinking these
The
things.
stimulant effects just throw the heart's electrical system into chaos. It raises heart rate, raises blood pressure, and in a dose-dependent way, it significantly increases the risk for all kinds of arrhythmias.
So if we put this all together, from the crazy high blood pressure to the final clot, we've identified, what, 6 major ways these drinks can push the body towards a stroke.
That's right. The sources consolidate them into 6 main mechanisms. You have uncontrolled hypertension, you have RCCS, you have PRES, which is a related syndrome. Then there's the endothelial dysfunction, the increased platelet aggregation, and the arrhythmias.
Let's group those for you. So you've basically got the structural problems, like the vessel damage from RCVS. Then you have the electrical problems, like arrhythmias. And finally, the clotting risk. It's a 3-front attack on your cardiovascular system.
Which brings us back to why this is so important for you, the listener. Stroke is the leading cause of adult disability, and a quarter of all cases are in working-age people. Energy drink consumption is a major modifiable lifestyle choice that we really need to start taking as seriously as we take smoking or drinking.
And the clinical takeaway is so clear. For any younger patient with a stroke or with unexplained stubborn hypertension, clinicians have to ask about energy drinks. Because, as this case showed, the risk is reversible if you stop.
The patient's journey proves it. His blood pressure completely normalized. He got off all 5 of his meds. But the damage from the initial stroke, that's the tragic part. Some of that remains.
That's the part that really hits home. The source included a quote from the patient 8 years later. He said, "I obviously wasn't aware of the dangers. I have been left with numbness in my left-hand side, hand and fingers, foot and toes, even after 8 years. The blood pressure was fixed, but some of the neurological damage was permanent."
It shows that prevention is everything here. We took a deep dive into this one complex case and learned that the combination of high caffeine, guarana, taurine, and all that sugar creates a perfect storm for cardiovascular disaster.
The evidence is definitely piling up. So here's the provocative thought we want to leave you with, and it comes right from the source's conclusion. Given this growing body of evidence and the aggressive marketing of these drinks to younger people, should there be increased governmental regulation on their sales and advertising? Or does the responsibility fall mainly on us, on individual awareness and better education about these risks?
Something to think about the next time you're thinking of grabbing that can to power through a late night.
Thank you for joining us for the deep dive.
See you next time.
And that's a wrap on this episode of MedDecode. I really appreciate you joining me today. If something we talked about sparked your interest, or if there's a medical term that's been bugging you, let me know in the comments. And if you enjoyed this, be a pal and share it with a friend. We'll catch you on the next one.